Blessings, blessings. Welcome to Primetime Home Buyers. I think the buffer started. I was trying to make sure that my sound was good and everything. I hope you guys are doing well on a Monday. I want to say shout out to Rumble. I do apologize. I was not here on Rumble Live. But Rumble, please know that if I'm not live, I do try to upload and I upload in the Facebook group as well as the page on Facebook. So you'll see the video. So we had like a review, put that up there for Friday. We try to make up for the makeup and make sure that people do have the foundational information related to how to invest in tax liens and tax deeds. We go over a series of information here on Primetime Home Buyers, the buyback team, me, your host, Lashley. If you haven't met me, welcome. Today we're going to continue our topic about owning properties and building on properties once you get your actual investment back, just creative ideas what to do. But before we can do all that, we want to make sure that we have the key foundational information to mitigate risk factors and also get ready for whatever may come up. So this is one of the topics that we had talked about last week. We kind of did a talk through about current evictions that was going on and how it's a really high rate. So we're going to go into the actual proceedings of court order evictions, what you should know for tax lien investors. This is real estate investors, landlord. This is going to highlight the general process and what you can expect. Okay, and we're going to continue on Friday. I'm definitely coming this Friday, guys. I'm going to behave. I'm going to come. It's just be a lot going on. So sometimes I get wiped out. So if I work overnight and then I make a live for that night, that day, sometimes it doesn't happen. So I do apologize, guys. But with that goes to say my goal is to get into a part 2 of this on Friday. And we're going to talk about basically challenging court orders eviction. So this live is going to kind of be for the landlord, but as a tenant and a renter, you want to know what to expect. What is the process if it's happening to you, okay, and where you stand. So today I have a formal PowerPoint that I'm going to put up on the screen for you guys. And usually when I do a PowerPoint, I do take myself off the screen. Oh, hold on, I pressed the wrong button. I take myself off the screen because I want you guys to be focused. Let me take this big old join the buyback team. If you haven't joined the buyback team, please join the buyback team. We also have an announcement at the end of today's live. We have the sales seminar up. Okay, so the sales seminar is up, and we're going to show you that at the end of today's seminar. Primetime home buyers, court orders, eviction, what you should know. Court order eviction, what you should know. So we're going to start with the basics. This is some of the concepts that we're going to be hitting tonight. Evictions is part of the game. Don't be afraid. Presenting a formal eviction notice. We're going to kind of touch into that, and then we're going to have a full broadcast later on in the future showing you formal eviction notice and how to construct it by back team. Okay. The court hearing process, we're going to go into that. The day of court, no show on the court date for the landlord or the tenant, being prepared for the outcome, and preparing for an eviction hearing checklist. So we have a little checklist just to review everything. So let's get to it. Eviction is sometimes part of the game. We don't like to do it, guys, because we already talked about the bad situation a lot of people will be in. We talked about the factors. But again, we all have to basically pay like we weigh. And if you own a property and you have a mortgage attached to it, you have a liability, and you know how that goes. So being a landowner/landlord, sometimes you must go through the scary process of eviction. It is good to have the negotiation skills. It is good to understand the boundaries of a contract. So we talked about negotiation skills as well as boundaries of a contract. If it's not up, that means that it has been pulled off the public platform, guys. Okay. It is best to take your personal feelings out of the eviction process to be successful. That is, if you are a landlord or a tenant. Keep your mindset set on the outcome, possession of the property. The eviction process can be harsh, but all tenants must pay rent. Never take matters into your own hands. So we're going to definitely highlight that. I know people can get really emotional, really frustrated, especially if they like, this is my property and there's a lot of disrespect going on between communications. We're going to address that in today's presentation. The court can do the job. It is important to follow the rules and regulations of your state regarding the process. Illegal possession. This is for the landlords and tenants. You got to know your rights. And landlords, there's certain things you just cannot do, no matter if you own the property. That's why we highlight is a difference between ownership and possession. Okay. And defining that within the courts. Removing the tenant physically from the property by force. This is illegal. Removing or touching the tenant's belonging. That's illegal. Cutting off the power, changing the locks, harassing the tenant, doing any damage to their property. Definitely, you can find yourself in a great heap of trouble. Okay, guys? Eviction is part of the game. Ensure that you have a valid legal reason for eviction. As well as a tenant, you want to ensure you have a valid legal reason of why you didn't pay the rent. And I'm going to give you an example of that because I have been in that situation where I actually beat the landlord because I held the rent. Okay, so let's get through this PowerPoint, then I'll tell you. Uh, Failure to pay the rent on time or at all. This is a problem. Violating the terms of the lease agreement, damage to the property, causing loss. These are terms for you to have a legal eviction. Breaking local occupancy laws such as health ordinance and noise standards. Yes, this can cause you to be evicted. Using chemicals that cause health and safety hazards in the property, such as methamphetamine. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Now, this is a two-way street. You want to ensure you have a legal reason to stay and not pay your rent. I'm going to give you an example. When I first moved to Georgia, I was renting a home. Shortly after moving there, mold started to show up on the walls around the fireplace. I tried to get in contact with the landlord and they would not respond. And a lot of illegal things were going on, such as they were billing me for them having to come and bring me the key to the garage. So that became an issue because that was billed to me with interest as well as the situation with the mold. Make a long story short, I held my rent. In the state of Georgia, you cannot deposit your rent into the courts as far as if you're a tenant prior to an eviction being filed for you. Sad but true. It's different in different states. I.e., example, something similar happened to me in Georgia, and in Jersey, and I was able to file a petition against the landlord about the actual things that was wrong with the property, and I deposit my rent inside of the court. So you have to know it's two sides to the game. Just because you're a landlord does not mean you have the right to do and say anything, especially put your tenant in a bad situation. So, make a long story short, the Georgia court case came out to one. Um, they had to return my monies that I paid throughout the time of being there, as well as any extra monies that I had to pay for me being outside of the house. Extra liabilities were paid because my son had breathing issues, so I was able to prove that I had to take him out of the house and spend gas money. It was everything. Anything that I can find to add more tally onto the list, this is what I did. And I was a tenant. So they paid for gas spent, boarding for my son where he was staying with my friend. They paid for damages and court courses. Okay. And then I end up getting out of that lease. So understand, landlords, that this is a two-way street. This is why part two to this is going to be dedicated to renters and how to challenge evictions and how to get it off of your record. Okay. Now, pre-court hearing, you want to get prepared. Obtain all of your evidence, such as the lease agreement. That's the first thing you want to have. You want to abide by that on both sides. Non-payment or bounce checks. This is the actual documentation that you want to start to gather or have all together already. This is going to be your evidence on both sides. Okay. All records of payments, all records of communications you and the tenant had, example, email, phone calls. Okay. A copy of the eviction notice and service detail. And with that, you want to have proof of service, example, UPS, Federal Express, or the sheriff's office if that is what's due according to the local municipality. So this is not even when you file in the court. You have to give your tenant notice prior to filing in court, like, hey, you're behind. This is how much. This is what you got to pay. This is the fees. You have this amount of time. Okay. That notice has to be done. And there's a certain amount of time that you have to abide by, depending on the state regulation or the county regulation. It can be a 2-week notice, 3-week, whatever it is, because they're already behind. You'll need that to solidify your position when you file in court. Did I read all the communicate? Okay. Make sure I read all of that. Eviction hearing process. The landlord initiates the initial notice to the tenant, which is the notice to cure or quit or pay. And that's what I was just explaining to you. You sent that to them, giving them that notice. The notice is delivered via special delivery units such as Certified or UPS. This is your third party verification. The tenant has the time to reply, pay, or ask for mitigation with you, okay, within the state required time frame before you can file with the court. If the time has passed and the tenant does not pay or comply, the landlord can then file an unlawful detainer lawsuit within the court. Okay, I just want to highlight this. Renters, if you're renting and you don't get an initial notice before you get a court notice of you being behind, this can actually help you. So attorney will advise you possibly that this can delay the hearing, making it basically an administrative issue. And the landlord will have to do things properly, which puts you on notice, then file, and that whole time frame applies. I'm giving you guys a little extra hint, okay? The court, so then if the time frame has passed and the tenant does not reply or comply, the landlord can then file a unlawful detainer lawsuit within the court, which is a landlord tenant lawsuit, depending on what it's named in your particular area. The court sends the tenant, the landlord an official hearing. This is when you're going to have a hearing notice through the courts. If no mitigation has come about prior to seeing the judge, the decision for the eviction is based on the provable facts. So once you get there for the hearing, they're going to give you a chance to talk to each other. So if y'all can't come up with any agreement, this is when basically you're not going to be in front of a jury. The judge is going to make the decisions of the facts of the case. What happens at the eviction hearing? A review of the facts. What we talked about, the lease agreement, official notice, email, notes, communications between the tenant and landlord are reviewed. Okay, keep everything. That's why you have to be professional and keep your emotions out of it. You know, that can say a lot to the judge, and how the judge actually, even if your tenant wins and they see that you're nasty, they may do what they want towards the end, give the tenant another 2 months to stay there, whatever, according to state law. You never know. So keep that in mind, that the way you behave now is going to reflect your outcome later. Written statements from witness, example, neighbors, police reports, if that apply, photographs of property showing damages before and after. Tenants and landlords, take a picture. Me as a landlord person who will rent to someone, I will take pictures of the full property. Me as a renter, I have known that because I rented for years. I will take pictures of the full property before and after, because sometimes they try to keep your security deposit for cleaning and all types of stuff. Okay, so you want to keep the proof. Buildings inspection records. Now you can get that definitely as the owner, but as a renter, you may have to do an open records request depending on the inspection reports, where they was held and what the process of doing that, if you need that for your case. Because in my case, one of my cases that I think it was that one in Jersey that I won. There was a lot of roaches. It was terrible, and they showed up at my home without giving me notice. So that made the judge even more mad. Okay. Eviction hearing process. If it is found that the tenant must vacate the property, the case is forwarded to the local law enforcement sheriff office or escort service within the local area. Now, some little towns don't automatically forward that. You will have to do that next step yourself. I know they're like, oh my God, another step. Yes, you have. This is after you get the writ of possession. Now you can get law enforcement involved. If the tenant refused to vacate, the landlord can change the locks and take possession of the rental property. And that's what I showed you last week, where you saw all of that furniture outside of those shops. This is when the landlord was able to take possession, get in, change the locks, and throw everything out. In some cases, tenant can be charged for criminal offense for trespassing if they do not get out of the property. So it can turn into a criminal liability. This is why it's great to just have great negotiation skills. People like try to be able to. I can't say you're going to be psychic, but it's always good to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel by behaviors of people, the way they live their life. You want to ask them, certain things that'll make you get to know if this is the right tenant for you. So they have questionnaires that you can actually, personality questionnaires. I know that's a little bit too much, but you can throw little questions in there in the application, and you'll get to know the tenant a little bit, help you make a decision, not just their credit report. What happens at the eviction hearing? Allegations may arise. Now, if allegation may arise, this is why you want to have all of your proof. Allegation of discrimination, allegation of illegal behavior. It could be allegations of not keeping the property up to par. And I explained to you, no extermination done, pictures of roaches, pictures of mice, all of those type things. These are allegations that must be proven with some type of facts on both sides. So, no show on the day of court. And I'm going to talk about it from both perspectives. If any party does not show up for the day of court, the winner is usually the party who shows up, which is basically a default judgment, which is known as a default judgment. The default judgment usually gives the landlord the right to have lawful enforcement assist them with the tenant removal, and that is when you have the writ of possession. It will also make the landlord eligible to receive back rent, attorney fees, and any court costs that is associated with the case. Okay, but there's a flip side to this. No show on the court on the day of court. Please keep in mind, if the tenant moves out before the hearing, you must still show up as the landlord. Okay, don't think just because they moved out everything is good. No, you started a court action, you got to finish it. In some cases, if the landlord does not show up, then the tenant obtains the judgment in the case, and you can owe the tenant fees associated with court costs related to the case. Know that the courts want to get paid. So if the landlord does not indicate to the courts that everything is settled and they allow proceedings to go on, and the tenants show up and they're like, well, I'm still there, everything is fine, this is my proof, the court will bill you. Okay. So being prepared for the outcome. If the landlord wins, we already kind of touched it, but we're just going to go into it a little bit more. It is the land if the landlord wins the eviction case, the judgment will proceed and eviction will follow. The landlord will be granted a writ of possession. Remember, you need the writ of possession. If you don't get that, you didn't win the case. Okay. Which it gives them the right to possess the possession of the property with the help of law enforcement again. At this time, the judge will decide the outcome of the monies due for the court costs. So you're dealing with the judge, back rent, and other funds associated with the process. That's why the whole communication that you have with your tenant, you want to be respectful, because if it makes it to court, they're going to see all of this, and judge going to make a decision. Okay. And I told you the judge favored me as a renter in one of my situations. I was favored really good. The judge will determine the exact terms of the payback agreement and the time that the tenant must exit the property. In many cases, the tenant may have 48 hours to 7 days to leave the property, depending on what the judge require as well as the law. Okay, you can keep that in mind. Being prepared for the outcome. If the tenant is the winner, because the tenant can win, at this time the tenant will be permitted to remain in the property. This will, or they'll be permitted to leave, break the lease, as in terms of what I told you, and then get some money. This will depend on the tenant original claim, the lease terms, and local landlord tenant laws. In some cases, the landlord is obligated to pay fees, expenses to cover the court costs, and any loss occurred by the tenant. Just know if you make it to court, the court got to get paid. This is why we want you to stay out of court, stay out of controversy. And this is why we teach you these methods, these skills, so you can apply it, so you can mitigate risk factors. Pre-eviction hearing. This is the checklist, just a little these key indicators that we talked about. This checklist will be available when we upload it on the website. Send a formal eviction notice to the client via certified mail. Before you do anything, don't just go to the court like, I'm evicting you. You didn't do anything right. You got to make sure that you have a written communication with them, giving them notice about the eviction, why you're evicting them, the terms that they broke, and also being sent by a third party. Highlight the formal eviction notice deadline and a way to cure before formal procedures are filed. You have to give them some type of mitigation. You don't have to give them a payment plan, but you have to give them a deadline, okay? But some type of mitigation or formal offer has to be made. Wait for the response according to state law. Okay, just because you send it today, they got it tomorrow, don't mean you can go to the court the next day and file it. There is a waiting period for them to reply. And that's why I'm highlighting to renters, if that did not happen and they did not wait the waiting period to file, and you notice that could be an administrative error. It could throw the case out. You see, I gave y'all a little hint, just a little bit of extra research. File for an eviction hearing at the local courthouse, okay? After you succeeded the time, and or at the local courthouse for an unlawful detainer lawsuit. I do apologize. Prepare for your court case. Have documentation. Have the documentation you need, okay? You want to make sure they don't make you file before you actually go to court. You just want to have everything, okay? Get legal representation if necessary. Now, this is not always necessary, guys, because you can't represent yourself. Landlord tenant court is not that intense. Usually, you can handle it yourself. Getting your past due money. Now it's not just that, okay, I got them out. I told you you had to make an extra step to get them out with law enforcement. So sometimes you have to file paper, or that paper is automatically forward and to be, executed at a certain time, depending on the law. But if you need to get your money and they're just not paying, this is an option for you. You can go even further. In some cases where the landlord tenant court does not enforce the judgment, like put a FIFA, which is basically a lien on the person for you via that court, meaning landlord tenant court, a filing must be made in small claims court to get the fund. Okay, small claim courts is usually below $10,000, I would assume, in some counties, and that's where you will file. Probably like $5, not a lot of money. In this case, the landlord will use the eviction court order and your judgment to file this court case. All the evidence is there. Basically, they're going to forward all of the liens and levies to wherever they can track the person down. And you want to have as much information about that person as possible, such as where they work at, okay? Those type of things. So within the court case steps, can be taken to garnish the party's wages. So this is that's why you have to do a good application process. When you're a landlord, know who you bring in your home and verify. Don't just see everything on paper like, oh, this look good. No, you have to call, okay? You have the right to verify the information. You can also go an extra step if it's that bad, okay, guys? A private debt collector can be used to obtain the funds. In this case, you will have to pay for that service. By going this route, the tenant will have the debt reported to the credit bureau. So not only would it be a landlord-tenant court, you can also put it on their credit report so everybody can see it. Because usually, the credit report don't house that information as far as rental money owes, but that will add on. So yeah, gave y'all a little extra hint. Now, on Friday is we're gonna go in. Can a court order eviction be canceled? So we're going to be getting into that on Friday. We're going to be helping the renters in their particular situation, giving you some hints and tips. But there are some things that I still want to talk through, just address in this particular live. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will address them. As you know, I was doing last week. I did question and answers, and not too many participated. But if you would like, y'all put in the comments and let me know. I can always drop the link for questions and answers, and y'all can come on StreamYard. Y'all don't have to show your face, but y'all can come on and ask me questions, and I can answer them for you. I don't mind using the last 15, 20 minutes to do that. So y'all just let me know if that's something that you want me to add to the stream. If you see me not talking about it, just drop a comment and say, hey, you want to, I got to ask you a question, but I want to drop, get in the link, and I'll have not a problem. Okay. So do you need legal representative? It depends on how bad the situation is, how much money you owe, the person owe you, how hectic it got. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Allegations of discriminatory and illegal behavior is something that I do recommend you get a lawyer, or you do your thing, you do your research and stand your ground if you know that you're honorable and that's not the truth. And that is to have evidence, and that is to have witnesses. Okay. Other times to consider a lawyer is if this is your first eviction, please get a lawyer. Get a lawyer that may will walk you through the eviction process so you can verify and possibly do it your next time to overcome the confusion and you feeling overwhelmed. If the tenant has a lawyer and plans to fight the eviction, get a lawyer. If you're not like me, last year, okay, I ain't scared of lawyers. I to talk to them. I know how to talk to them. They be trying to just throw stuff at you, and I be like, nope, got nothing to do with it. They would throw a lot of stuff at you that has nothing to do with nothing, and you just be overwhelmed. So, if they do have a lawyer, just possibly get yourself a lawyer. Just know that if you are honorable and you're able to win this, they're going to pay everything, not you. And at the end of the day, you might as well higher the stakes, because if you lose just because you're representing yourself, you're going to have to pay the lawyer fees and everything. Okay. Also, if the tenant filed for bankruptcy, that makes the case more complicated. I can't give you too much details on that. I do know where to find out if someone filed bankruptcy, but a bankruptcy lawyer will be your go-to. If there's a housing program or rental control program involved in the eviction terms, this can be complicated. Yes, it could. And let me just share y'all this. I know y'all be like, she got a lot of stories. Yes, what I said this not on this platform, but my other platform. There was a time that I was on assistance before, you know. Okay, and I'm not ashamed. And at that time, I was getting temporary rental assistance for about a year, and they did not pay the rent. And they started to evict me. I paid my portion of the rent, but they didn't pay. So when I went to court, I represented myself, and I had to show the judge that it was a program and everything. And the judge was like, it was a program. They didn't even know. It was a whole ordeal. So they ended up summoning them to court. But that can happen. So keep that in mind. I witnessed it myself. I'm like, why am I here? I paid my little $200, but those people can find themselves in court. Just have all your documentation and also your terms of agreement with the temporary rental assistance program and the terms, like you understand the terms of it, so you can be in good standing. Also, if the tenant was formerly employed by you, otherwise tied to you, more traditional. So, for instance, if you own a property and you have someone who was the maintenance man, they was temporarily employed, and then you have rental issues with them, get a lawyer. Okay, just stop right there. Okay, because it could be an employment issue and rental issue. Okay. Um, I know I know. You're like, why is she gonna say this? Dress for the occasion. You do have to tell some people that. Yes, don't come in there with your sneakers and stuff. The more representable you look, the judge takes you more seriously. And it's so sad. I know you want to come near. I would want to come near like this, but I'll have a less flashier shirt if I did, and I'll throw a blazer on if I had jeans and some shoes and go into the court. Something like that. I'm just kind of throwing something out there, kind of dressy casual. Don't go in there looking like Bum Street. I'm honest. I'm honest. Okay, so what to say in the eviction court? Just be honest. Prove the facts. Have it in sequential order, please. From when the person moved in or when you moved in, what had occurred. This is the email I sent on this date on sequential order. The judge loves to see it. It makes the process easier so both parties can get through it quickly. So definitely have that sequential order, have it in order, and that's pretty much it. That is what I wanted to share with you tonight, which is court order eviction, what you should know. If you have any questions, I want you to put it in the comment box. I know we're here for like 28 minutes. Usually I go about 45 minutes, a half an hour. As far as what we'll be talking about next week, oh, you know what we're going to do? Because I talked about what we're going to talk about next week. But as we're going to be talking about on Friday is challenging court order eviction. I'm going to have a formal PowerPoint. Also, overstaying, what to do with or when people overstay. I gave you a heads up today, but we're going to go into detail next week. I mean, on Friday in a PowerPoint. Now, what I want to show you guys is that we actually have the selling seminar up. And if you're interested in seeing all of the videos that we have in the selling seminar, I'm going to put that on the screen for you. We're going to go through it real quick. Welcome to the buyback team. I'm so excited. We do have PowerPoints that's going to be available with this as well, all of the PowerPoints. So you're going to see the attachment to the file. If you don't know, we have a slew of seminars. So under our plans and course access, you will see all our plans that we have. We have the tax lien basic course, full course, over the counter seminar. If you want to go through our Georgia seminar, we have that seminar. Now, I want to give you a heads up. Each of these highlighted topics is at least 30 to 45 minutes. So just keep that in mind. If you see all of these different bullets, that means that they're at least 30 to 45 minutes worth of content as well. But what we added now to our actual list, we have, before we skip down, GSI and land survey, the foreclosure seminar, pre-title search. That is what I call the title search, what I call the soft title search, which is not a legal term. Someone's like, what is the difference? I'm like, listen, don't get confused. It's not a legal term. This is something I use here. It's because it's a program, a seminar that I put together of all of the key concepts and what I know to do your due diligence. And that involves some really detailed research. Okay. Mostly you can get it done in 45 minutes if you know what you're doing. Now, we also have Understanding Law for real estate investors. If you don't know, that seminar is up right here. We still have about 2 more sessions or 3 more sessions to add to this. We're not going to get into each bullet, but if you are interested in looking at that and reading what particular each seminar hosts for you guys, you can read it. It has a lot for you guys. It'll keep you busy, and you'll definitely learn a lot. Now this is our new seminar that we got up. I said it was going to be up by Friday and I disappeared, but it is up. Pricing and selling real estate properties. And this is for investors, tax lien investors, new investors. We're giving you the foundational information that you need to know to get started, as well as to be well-rounded. Okay. And that is when you're talking to realtors, constructing contracts, even later on in the process when you become an expert, starting to put a proposal together to maybe to get grants and loans. But we just put that proposal section in there, just threw it in there so later on you can make it make sense. So within this actual seminar, I think it's about 9 parts. The first part is, should I sell in this market? How to analyze the housing market, how and where to sell properties, options for home and land buyers, how to determine land value and factors affecting prices, keys to selling your property, the assessment process, real estate property assessment appeal process. Okay. We have a bonus section, RESPA, what you need to know. If you remember, we went over RESPA. I just added that there. What do you need to know? And that's kind of branching into law. It's kind of branching into knowing your rights. Then we go into negotiating contracts. The reason why we put that up there, because we want you guys to be able to highlight the key elements of a contract and also highlight elements of a predatory contract. So we do have a bonus of that as well. It's bonus of how to spot fraud in contracts. Okay. Right under negotiating contracts. So we do add bonuses because we have our main topic, but we have things that branch off that I want you guys to pay attention to. So we have about 4 bonuses in this particular one. So the bonus is that we give you a section of law seminar, intro to understanding contracts, because this is actually talking about contracts. So we said, let's make it make sense. So we give you the law element of contracts, the negotiation element of contracts, elements of a real estate proposal for investors to get you ready for the future. Bonus, as we told you, how to spot fraud in the contracts. Another bonus. So how many bonuses we got in here? Wait, one. I was just giving stuff away. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 bonuses in here. So the 4th bonus is property, land, and line. Property line and lands, property land lines. Okay. And that goes with our land GSI survey. It gives you a bonus sneak peek into that. Survey comprehensive review. Okay. So this is what it is. Bonus property line and land survey comprehensive review. And that is part of our GIS mapping seminar. Okay, so we kind of gave you a sneak peek of more seminars in this, and that's what we do with other seminars, especially if the topic intertwine. Okay, and lastly, all you should know about selling for real estate investors. That's just a comprehensive review of most of the things that we went through in the seminar. And I will say this could be about 7 hours of information, because I know each video is about 30 minutes. One is 55. So it could be good about 5 hours of information. So learn all you need to know to begin your real estate selling journey. All right. So welcome to the buyback team. I wanted to show you that we have that on board, and all of the other things. I did put the link inside of the comments so you can just check it out. Also, we have a lot more to share. We just have a whole lot to share. So if you have any questions, you let me know. If not, I want to say thank you so much for being part of the buyback team. Thank you for being with Lashley. I will do my due diligence to be here on Friday so we can finish this topic and we can educate renters and giving you a little bit more heads up of how to defend yourself, especially if you're in the right. Okay, because I told you, I've been a renter. And I go after the landlords too. I'm never scared. I love you all. You have a beautiful night, and I will see y'all on Friday.
The real estate market often seems like a distant world where only an elite of experts is successful. In a time of so much uncertainty in the air and bad news, realist investing can seem intimidating. But today, I want to tell you that if you make the right decision today, you can enter the real estate market from the back door. Bad credit record? No credit at all? Do you dread the idea of having a home loan? Do you dream of owning investment properties? You are in the right place and right time, because we have created a program which is a tax lien and deed investment online course of only 14 hours. This course is specially designed for people like you who have big dreams. You will learn at your own pace and everything from your home computer. This is your chance. Join our membership for $19.99 a year. What are you waiting for? Visit our website primetimehomebuyerBuyback.org and sign up today for course access.